Is Albert Einstein the greatest minds of all time autistic? Well, that's what most people, most of some people in the spectrum think. And that the legendary genius, Albert Einstein, might be in the autism spectrum. And that's when sometimes they keep speculating, because of the fact that because there's something different about him that people always keep speculating about. Like, for example, from the days growing up. Like, let's say when he was little, he was very lower functioning, and that he started talking when he was only 5 years old, and he began to have speech delay, and he began to repeat sentences, and this is something that's very common, to autistics, and that's what it is, because most of us on the spectrum, when we are young, we always have a difficult struggle with how to say something, and how to repeat things, and that's exactly what happens in the spectrum. And another thing is that the greatest strength about us is that we have the ability to do magnificent things. We think differently. And I think that's what, in the case of Albert Einstein is. And we all know exactly who Albert Einstein is. And even Dr. Grandin, who happens to be an autistic herself, believes that so. And most people, and another thing now in the spectrum we have is that we have the ability to be eccentric, Sometimes we are like the eccentric misfits. And that's exactly what we all can tell on Einstein, But as you know, it's been since the last century, since Einstein is no longer with us. But I believe that there are many things that you can always tell that he has it, because of the ability that he might not be different than anybody else, but at the same time, the greatest thing of all is that. And on top of that, we all know this man is the greatest genius of all time, and I know that there are most people that still can tell that he might have. But unfortunately, it's still a big question in our forehead, because he has been there since the last century, and, is he or is he? You be the judge.